Okay, welcome everyone. It's 5:30. This is March 27, 2018. This is the meeting of the Board of Mayor and Selectmen of the City of McComb. Please remind everyone to turn off cell phones and remain seated and quiet during our meeting. Call on Joseph Parker to open my meeting with prayer. Mr. Joseph Parker.
Thank you. Bow our heads, please. Lord, we are grateful for you, especially at this time of year. We all recognize the sacrifice that you made for us. Thank you for the cross, Lord. Thank you for your grace and for your mercy. Lord, help us to not only think about that tonight, but each day as we go through the rest of our lives, not just the next year, next month and week, that we look to you for each of the decisions that we make, not the big decisions, not the little decisions, but all decisions, Lord. We seek you first in those things that we're trying to do and accomplish according to what we think our will is, Lord. They'll fail, but we seek you first in your will for our lives that we succeed. Be with us all here again tonight, Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Board, you've seen your packet that we have an agenda addendum for this meeting. There are two items that I'd like the board to consider in this addendum. Could I have a motion and a second to add two additional items? Selectman Tullis. Second. Selectman Eubanks. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. All right. You have the consent docket agenda before you. Would there be any objection to approving the consent docket as presented? Without objection, we have approved the consent docket. We have Ashley Ross and Adrian Starr. I believe that both are not present. Is that correct? So we'll skip on down to item number 4. Move to consider approving a resolution appointing Trenton I. Boggs, probationary firefighter in the Fire Division of the Department of Public Safety, effective April the 6th, 2018. I need a motion and a second. Second. Selectman Tullis made the motion. Selectman Eubanks for the second. So, Chief Gary McKenzie, who do you have standing beside you, sir?
We have Trenton Boggs. He began his career with the city at the fire department, and he transitioned to the police department some last year, I believe. And I'll let him explain, but I think his significant other has requested that he consider coming home to us.
Yes, sir. It's the way it started. It was a dream to come over to the police department, and I've gained a lot of knowledge. I enjoy the time that I've had with them, learned a lot, you know. Met a lot of great people, but when it boiled down to it, my wife came to me. She wants me home more. You know, she wasn't understanding the shifts, I guess, so to speak, whenever I had to explain to her, but she was letting me do my thing, and just family comes first, and I just have to put that like it is and accept it at face value, you know.
Well, Trenton, have you been trained as a police officer?
Yes, sir. Back in 2014.
And now we're going to take that training and go to the fire department. Is this kind of like tit for tat, Chief Gary McKenzie?
No, sir. It was actually a surprise.
Oh, okay.
He was with the fire department when he went through and received his law enforcement training. He was working part-time with the sheriff's department in Enid County at the time. And so that made his transition to the McComb Police Department much easier for him. And, but as it stands, the city is keeping a good employee. I believe he served both departments well, and we're tickled to have him back with us.
if approved.
Yes.
Board, are you ready to consider this matter? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. You'll have, we have appointed you to the fire department. Trenton Boggs, is your wife here?
She's not. I have sick kids at the house,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Well, congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And the next item, number 5, I move to consider approving a resolution appointing Matthew Wheat as a probationary firefighter in the Fire Division of the Department of Public Safety effective April 6, 2018. I need a motion and a second. Selectman Tullis, Selectman Cameron, Chief Gary McKenzie.
Mr. Wheat is a native of Pike County, I believe from the Pricedale community. He began his career in the fire service with the Meridian Fire Department, and then after a few years he moved to the South Haven Fire Department in North Mississippi, and he's decided he wants to return home to his roots, so he comes to us certified. He's also an EMT, well-trained, experienced, and well recommended by everywhere he has served. So we're proud to the fact that we'll be able to put him straight to work. Won't be any training involved. He's ready to go.
Very good. Questions, discussion, board? You ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Mr. Wheat, are you here by yourself tonight, sir?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to address the board or to the city?
Just thank you for the chance.
And you worked in the fire department at South Haven, trained there?
Yes, sir.
Certified there, and how many years were you there?
2 years.
2 years, okay. Very good. Before we move on, Chief Gary McKenzie, would you apprise the board of our discussion the other day about EMTs and calls for ambulance service, and you're responding. It was in the paper the other day. You made a presentation at Lions Club, and, you know, shame on me. I missed it in the newspaper. I don't know why I didn't read that, but anyway, I missed it. And but I'm just proud of what you're doing, and I know that the board would love to be reinforced and reminded what we're doing as a fire department today, and I'm sure the public would like to hear as well.
I'd be glad to, Mr.
Mr. Wheat, you may have a seat, sir.
In the fire department mission statement, which predates my employment with the city.
Hold on a second. Would you close those doors right there? The conversation out there is distracting. Can you close the doors?
Yes, close the doors, please.
Thank you.
Part of our mission statement, part of our service to the citizens of McComb is to assist in providing emergency medical care. It's in our mission statement. We just haven't been doing it for years and years. We couldn't get the logistics of the matter worked out through several administrations. And as you know, we have a private company that contracts for ambulance service within the city. But all too often, there are a limited number of ambulances, and they get busy, they get tied up, and that can result in a delayed response to areas within the city. And in a situation that is imminently dangerous to life, cardiac arrest, difficulty breathing, excessive bleeding from trauma, accident at home, a vehicle accident, that delay can cost lives. So it happened one time too many, and we said we'll worry about the logistics later. We're going to start doing this. So I requested our dispatch center to notify the fire department every time an ambulance is dispatched within the city limits of McComb. The shift commander on duty has a list of criteria furnished by the ambulance service that are within our scope to be able to provide assistance. That includes excessive bleeding. We can, firefighters have enough first aid training, they can control bleeding. We can perform CPR. We can assist manually with breathing. We're not allowed to utilize oxygen, but we can assist. Those skills are present in every firefighter and police officer, for that matter, in this city. They weren't being utilized. And so, the firefighters they're here, they're on duty 24 hours a day. We've got stations all over town. So if an ambulance is dispatched within the city, and it's a call where we feel that we can possibly be of use, most of the time, we're gonna beat the ambulance there. And that's time saved. And then those, excuse me, those cases, time saved can often be lives saved. And as I told you the other day, we have 2 confirmed life saves since we began this February 6th. That's when the dispatch was sent out, ambulance was being sent to a resident with someone in cardiac arrest. They were not breathing, they had no pulse. When they arrived at the emergency room after being treated by our firefighters and the ambulance service, they were breathing on their own, they had a pulse, and they had recovered. So, that's what we do, that's our business, that's our job. And it was past time for us to do it now.
Chief, that's good stuff, that's good news, and I appreciate you sharing that with this board and the public, and I'm just very, very proud of the service that our fire department is providing.
If I can, Mr. Mayor, I do need to reinforce the fact that we are not working in place of the ambulance service. We are only acting to assist them.
We don't transport anybody.
We don't transport, and we don't respond if an ambulance has not been dispatched. If it's a true emergency, we're coming to help that crew. And they need the help themselves, because there's only 2 people on that ambulance.
You can get there in 2 to 3 minutes anywhere in the city versus an ambulance.
And
could
it
be
takes
a little longer.
2 people cannot really, they can't effectively work someone in cardiac arrest and load them into the ambulance. It's just almost impossible to do properly. And so it helps the ambulance crew, it helps our citizens, and it lets us be more safe.
Yes, sir. Selectman Hill, sir.
Yeah, so what form of vehicle are you guys using to travel?
Right now, we're doing it on the fire engine. And the reason for that is the number of personnel we have manning the station. If I take 1 or 2 people out of the station and leave the engine there, and we have a fire or something, then somebody's got to go back to the station to get that. We don't have a dedicated response vehicle for these types of calls, and if we did, we would have to have forwards to maintain the same coverage throughout the city. So it's more effective for us to have the whole package.
You can't walk off and leave your truck.
No.
So is that something that you would like to get to, or are you fine and more comfortable with using the truck?
Without additional personnel and 4 additional vehicles, I think we're taking the best path at this point. And this is a process that we are going to revisit from time to time, because we will have to make adjustments. And, but so far things are going well, but that's what we're having to do right now.
Okay. Well, good job, Chief.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next, we move to Joseph Parker, Scenic Rivers Development Alliance. Joseph has some news he'd like to share with us. Mr. Parker, thank you for the prayer this evening, sir.
Glad to. Thank you. I'd like to give you just a very quick update on Scenic Rivers and where we are, and then a request will kind of come towards the end of that. But Scenic Rivers, again, in 2012 was formed, the Scenic Rivers Development Alliance, through an interlocal agreement. The original members were the city of McComb, Pike County, and Amite County. We've now grown the alliance to span over 5 counties, Pike, Amite, Waukon, Franklin, and Wilkinson counties, with 7 members throughout those counties, and additional ones hopefully on the way very soon. Legislation, which you supported with a resolution here recently, along with all the other alliance members unanimously across all boards, everybody presented unanimous resolutions to proceed with local and private legislation to the legislature to allow Scenic Rivers to become a political subdivision of the state. So that's been accomplished. Again, a very big thanks to Senator Witherspoon, Representatives Mims and Cochran for their leadership in helping to push that through. and also with Mr. Butler, a lot of connections there that he had there to make sure that the legislation got through very quickly. So again, thank you to everyone. At this point in time, the legislation allows for some things that we could not do in the past with just the interlocal agreement. It allows for different areas of economic development when it comes to advertising what we can do regionally, a regional approach. It allows for some facilities management operations. It allows for some other tourism activities and opportunities to apply for funds in those areas. So what I'd like to talk to you specifically about tonight is that facilities management piece that goes along with the legislation that was recently passed. Scenic Rivers, as you know, has been involved in some discussions with multiple alliance members. Probably the one that's most reported recently, maybe Quail Hollow Golf Course and the Bogachitta Water Park. Bogachitta Water Park has Patrol River Basin Development District going out of business soon. The county is considering the idea of taking over ownership, the deed of that property, and to potentially allow Scenic Rivers to manage that facility. There are tourism-related facilities like that throughout the Scenic Rivers region. The city of McComb has one, the McComb Sports Park. We'd ask for your consideration tonight to talk about that opportunity. The opportunity to combine these facilities together from a management standpoint makes it more efficient and effective when you talk about creating these packages that may exist. When someone comes to town, visitors and guests, you can come to the sports park and play ball, stay at the hotels or go to the water park at a cabin, and oh, by the way, don't forget your golf clubs. You know, presenting these packages like this gives us an opportunity to advertise and promote our area to a larger group of people, again, more efficiently and more effectively as we do that. We also want to make sure, as we talk about the sports park and the potential role that we may play in this as managers, this is not a whole lot different that you have with other facilities. The Severn Trent contract that you have, again, with your wastewater treatment plant. Again, it's not a new concept of managing those facilities for a municipality like this. And things that we'd like to do in promoting, you won't see a decline in all activities at the park or the other facilities in the area. You see an incline to that. We expect it to grow. We want to make sure that we're doing this collectively, but it also not just to bring in people from outside. We want to make sure that we have a community component with this so that our local constituents here feel the ownership with Scenic Rivers. Scenic Rivers is not an association or a private alliance out there separate from you. You are Scenic Rivers. The alliance members and the citizens that are represented throughout these 5 counties are Scenic Rivers. When we talk about promoting ourselves to the rest of the world, whether we're promoting ourselves in the city of McComb or we're in Wilkinson County, we're promoting it as one unified alliance, everyone working together. And that's something that a lot of people said that could not be accomplished, it could not be done, but you've done that. You've been a part of that from the very beginning. When these conversations started back in 2007 and 2008 to, again, to get into 2012 with our interlocal agreements, now the legislation being passed, and here we are, legislation passed in February of this year. We're taking the next steps to move forward and promote ourselves like never before. It's a great opportunity at hand. So with the sports park piece, I'd be glad to take any questions that you have at this point in time. My hopes are that you would allow the mayor, attorney, and administrator at some point in time maybe to enter into some negotiations to further discuss this topic. But at this point in time, I'll stop there and allow for questions if you have any.
Board, Selectmen Eubanks.
Now, you mentioned the community component.
Yes.
I believe me and Selectman Bart was at a meeting and we discussed about how can our citizens use that park and how can we develop leagues for our citizens to be able to come there, church leagues, different leagues, to be able to use that park with no charge to them. They've already paid for it, or minimum or whatever. So that's one of the things that's concerning to me is the ability of our public to be able to enjoy those parks. Those are the people that put up the money that's paying the bills, and so they should be able to utilize that park and different times or to be discussed later. But that's one of the things that concerns me with that park, as well as how are we going to the workers there? What's going to happen to the workers? Are they going to go over to Scenic River? Are they going to stay? So that's some of the things that I think it needs to be discussed a little further as far as that. But as far as one of the things that I ran on as tax assessor was a regional alliances. Like you have the triangle up north. It's harder to go up there and knock on doors because I'm just going to tell you the truth. For some reason, this legislature thinks that the state of Mississippi stops at I-20. They don't look down here to bring those businesses down here. They don't look. It's always Jackson or north. So we got to get somebody up in there that's going to bang some heads together and bring some economic development down here, to the southern part of our state. We got people drive all the way to Natchez just to go to work at Sanderson Farm every day. We need something, that here, and hopefully y'all can bring it here, that our constituents can have a high-paying job. So, that's what I like to see how it goes that way.
Mayor, if I could catch those 2 points briefly. We recognize absolutely, when you talk about economic development, that community development is the first part of that. You have to have a strong community development side here that will lead to the growth of economic development. You have to have a strong community, you have to have a strong base, and you have to have a unified area like we're trying to promote. So, again, absolutely incorporating the community involvement into all of our facilities, into all of our actions as a major component. So absolutely, that's not going to be an issue with us moving forward. As far as employees go, we won't get into details of what personnel matters may look like, but if the employees were to come to Scenic Rivers, I can assure you that everyone would come at equal or better. I mean, the employees will be treated very well. I have a heart, obviously, for the city of McComb, worked here for 17, 18 years, and so I understand the needs, the commitments, and the background with that. I can assure you that those needs would be met.
Anybody else, Selectman Hill?
The term ownership of the Bogachitta Water Park was used. Can you elaborate a little more when you use the term ownership of the sport park?
Absolutely. The city of McComb would continue to own the sports park. Scenic Rivers would simply ask to be managers of the sports park. Again, like a kind of suburban trend. The city of McComb owns the wastewater treatment plant. You have someone operating that for you. We would not take ownership of the park. We would work with the city of McComb to continue, again, the same operations, adding those additional components that we talked about, and promoting your area as a whole. To include things like promoting the Bodilly Pavilion and other assets that you have. So this is only to enhance and work together collectively. Again, as you are, Scenic Rivers is City of McComb, the Scenic Rivers. I'm still working for you to promote those assets that you have. You would still own them.
Speak to the Pearl River Park. I think he asked about that specifically.
Bogachitta Water Park. So that, in that example, it's being advertised right now. The Pike County Board of Supervisors are trying to decide whether or not to take ownership of that park. Purple Basin Development District is going out of business, and so the ownership of that park would have to transfer to another entity, another governmental agency, and so the county is the fit that they think would work with that. The same in the other counties, Holmes Water Park and Walthall County, same thing. The county own that, and the city help run that. It's not a matter of Scenic Rivers coming in to take deeds to the parks at this point in time. Absolutely not.
Selectman Toles.
Wouldn't you say that Scenic Rivers is the first time that Southwest Mississippi has had a unified voice to the state legislature?
Sure. And it's recognized in that effort. We've had several conversations, been to Jackson multiple times now with our local state delegates, and been well received. We're receiving fantastic comments that are being received from businesses, community members, elected officials. Working together is it's not a new concept. It's just something that we're coming to the table to do together at this point in time. This is something that's going to be well received and be a large beneficial tool for this region, Southwest Mississippi, and have the Scenic Rivers region for days and years to come. It's just a matter of working together to get these things accomplished.
Quick, Selectman Eubanks.
Quick follow-up.
Yes, sir.
As far as you're not allowed to tax, correct?
No, sir. We don't have that tax.
If you offer a company a tax abatement, that has to go through all the boards, correct?
Absolutely. So if there's something that,
So that you can't on your own just say, okay, we want Nike shoes to put whatever it is, we're gonna give you a tax abatement and such as that. So that would have to go within wherever the location that they were considering.
absolutely. And the same thing for bonding. We would issue bonds on our own. That's something that we were working with you on a project of some sort and helping you in that regard. But on our own, absolutely not.
Selectman Hill, sir, you have your hand up.
Yes, I want you to talk about a little bit, because Scenic River wants to take over the operations and maintenance, right? Is there going to be a burden lifted off the city, so where we can start using more of the money that's being spent on the sport parks and other areas of needs of our city? Is that one of the things that we can look forward to, as far as the burden being taken out of the city from the sport park, so we can to pay more attention to the rest of our city?
Absolutely. Our plan that we would present and work with the staff is to make sure that there are savings. We're very sure that there will be savings that will come back to the city of McComb for you to use those general fund dollars however you wish at that point in time. To answer your question, yes, sir.
Anybody else? Selectman Brock?
Mr. Parker, when will we see this plan on paper?
If you would agree tonight to continue with that discussion with the gentleman, I mentioned that this next couple of weeks we'd have that, so you could have that at your next board meeting to review and consider.
You don't need us to continue, do you?
Sir?
You don't need us to give you approval to present a presentation.
Well, I believe that may be up to Mr. Dowdy to make sure that from a legal standpoint that you would authorize mayor, attorney, and administrator to take up those negotiations and those conversations in a detailed manner with us. I believe, again, I'll leave that to y'all to make that decision. Thank you, Wood.
I would think so, and then then it would be presented to the board as for consideration, and only for consideration to see how the board wish to move with it, if they wish to move at all, or change like whatever change they wish to make. But to develop that concept to march on Selectmen Hill.
Mayor, would you, would it be an opportunity for you to start a committee as we did before? Or would you like to go about this in a different manner?
Well, my notes here was that we would get, when we got to the addendum and added the agenda items, I would ask the board if they wanted to consider one additional item, which would be authorizing the city attorney, city administrator, and the mayor to enter into conversation with the scenic rivers and see what kind of, how we can flesh this out and then bring that back to the board for the board to consider as a recommendation. That's my question.
And since the facility belongs to the city, what about community input?
Well, the community, we would develop, see how this thing fleshes out and see what it looks like. I think we certainly understand what I'm hearing about the community input, and see if we can put together something that works, and if not, let's not do it. How's that?
Mayor, if you would, would you consider having an actual public hearing of it?
Well, we could have we could certainly have a public hearing, you know, if the board were to, you know, come together with something, then with a plan, and then we could have that public hearing to let the public see what the board of mayors have in mind. That would be appropriate. I can't see that we would want to have a public hearing without having something that we're actually solidly behind. Okay? Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Thank you.
All right. Next item, number 7. Move to consider approving a proclamation declaring April as Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Month in the city of McComb, and further encouraging the citizens of McComb to wear orange ribbons on April the 10th, 2018 for Go Orange Day. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Selectman Tullis?
Second.
Selectman Eubanks. And I know that I've seen some ladies dressed in orange in our presence tonight. One, Michelle Lumbus, she didn't leave, did she? No, there she is. Michelle, you know, I know this is and you have members of the ASAP program with you as well, and
Our animal control officers.
animal control officers, people that are doing a fantastic job for our city. This is the 3rd or 4th year we've done Go Orange Day.
Yes.
Is it growing to be a big thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm always, you know, this is something that I'm very passionate about personally, and so by coming over to the animal shelter, it just, you know, captured momentum, and we've continued on. So as we are going into April, we also want to make it a big splash for our city, and we're going to have an open house at the shelter on the 26th. So we want to invite you guys to come by and the public to come by and see all the improvements that have been made.
April 26th.
April 26th. They can come by all day long, but hopefully 1:30 to 6:30, with probably more activity happening around the 5 o'clock to 6:30 time frame, so people can get off from work or whatever and come by and see all the improvements that have been made to the shelter, and where we hope to go and continue that momentum for people to help us get to where we want to be.
And I know there'll be plenty of orange ribbons at City Hall for all the staff and friends to pick up and wear.
Yes, sir. So I'll have a basket that we'll put downstairs for citizens to come by and pick up little ribbons like this, and I'll distribute ribbons throughout all of our departments so that we can wear them for sure all the month of April, but definitely on the 10th. We picked the 10th because that is the 152nd anniversary of the first animal cruelty law being put in place 152 years ago. That's what all this is about, and hopefully y'all can support us with that. We're going to have wreaths that we'll put on City Hall like we've done in the past, and any businesses or people that want to get involved with that, I encourage them to contact our shelter and see how they can be a part of that whole Go Orange experience for us.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Mr. Hill, Seven Hill.
Yes, same question as last year. You guys want to practice being vegan during this month?
Well, I'm a reducitarian is what I say. So there are many days that I will reducitarian my intake of meat and other things. And so definitely, I mean, it would be wonderful if we did a meatless Monday for the month of April. I think that me and my girls at the shelter can go with that, right, girls? And we'll encourage everybody else to go
Only
meatless
if the
Monday.
entire population of the city employees go the same route.
Yes.
Okay, board, any further discussion on this matter? Ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. And I would encourage ASAP, I believe that's your fundraising side of our shelter, to maybe where you have your ribbons on display, that maybe they would have some brochures that would have, please, if our public wants to donate, there's a way for them to do that. Okay. Thank you very much. I do have this to read, if I may, board, if you'll allow. This is from the City of McComb proclamation, whereas the mission of local animal advocates, the McComb Animal Shelter, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, ASPCA, the Humane Society of the United States, HSUS, and Aiding Shelter Animals Project, ASAP, is to promote a humane community in which all animals are treated with respect, kindness, compassion, and freedom from cruelty. Whereas the agencies support activities that bring people and their pets together in a harmonious and safe relationship, and whereas the aim and objectives of these agencies are to educate the public as to the needs of their pets and to provide information on the proper care and treatment of animals, and whereas the agencies urge the vigorous enforcement of existing animal cruelty laws and want to make the public more aware of these laws in hopes of eliminating cruelty to all animals, and whereas the agency promotes adoption, whereas the agencies promote adoptions of unwanted, abandoned, or stray animals, pets into new loving families, and whereas pet overpopulation issues are a major priority, and the agencies encourage the spaying and neutering of animals to reduce the overpopulation problems, and whereas the month of April has been designated by the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals as Go Orange Month, to draw public attention to the plight of animals across our nation, and to emphasize the responsibility of human beings to care for these totally dependent creatures. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Mayor and Selectmen of the City of McComb City, Mississippi, to hereby proclaim the month of April 2018 as Prevention of Animal Cruelty Month.
Thank you.
So ordered.
Is there an opportunity for a photo?
Tonight?
Is there a?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Well, can you get the entire board in this picture?
We can try.
Who's got a big enough camera?
We'll put ASAP has already fixed their little slips, if I might read
Okay.
what it says.
All right.
It says, Go Orange for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Month. Aiding Shelter Animals Project, ASAP, asks that you wear this ribbon
treated humanely and fairly. We give these out at our fundraiser,
Okay.
so it says, we thank you for your donation. ASAP spends all donations on the care and comfort of the animals at the McComb Animal Shelter.
Well, Board, can you get up here and gather around? You want to gather around this? It's because of you, gentlemen, that this animal shelter is in the, that's making progress every day. It's because of you. So get up here, please. All right.
Ready? All right, 1, 2, and 3. Can we get another one? 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Vegan eggs.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I heard it was in Via. Thank you.
Next, item number 8, I move to consider adopting a resolution acknowledging our full support of the McComb School District education movement, We Want More, and further declaring Thursday, March the 29th, 2018, as We Want More Day in the city of McComb. Can I have a motion and a second? Selectman Cameron for the motion, Selectman Eubanks for the second. And Board, the school district is totally committed to getting total community involvement in a educational movement they call We Want More. And they say it's an educational movement because it's not like it's a campaign that's once it's over, it's over. This is a movement that lasts and goes in time. And our district is, our school district under Dr. Ellis is committed to making our school district, as he says, the school district vision, we produce students empowered to change the world. And so anyway, they're going to kick off We Want More March 29th at the mall. And this is a resolution that I'm asking us to consider. The school districts asked us to do this in support of the movement, and I told them I believe our board is totally on board with this. So it's been motioned and seconded. Is there discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. And I have another proclamation before We Want More I'd like to read. The mayor will not be able to attend this. Mayor Pro Tem Selectman Cameron will read this to the public on March the 29th during the We Want More event. Declaring this proclamation declaring March 29th, 2018 as We Want More Day in the city of McComb, Mississippi. Whereas the McComb School District desires to launch an education movement within the city of McComb. And whereas the McComb School District has declared this education movement within the city of McComb as We Want More. And whereas the McComb School District believes that long-term growth within the city of McComb is dependent upon and can only be achieved by producing high-achieving students from all walks of life and all educational backgrounds. And whereas the McComb School District is committed to producing high-achieving students within the McComb School District and has stated as its vision to produce students empowered to change the world. And whereas the McComb School District believes that an education movement is a long-term process that must be supported by all citizens, churches, organizations, and businesses within the city of McComb. And whereas the McComb School District will kick off the education movement, We Want More, on Thursday, March 29th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the parking lot of Edgewood Mall. And whereas the McComb School District encourages all citizens and entities within the city of McComb to show their support for this education movement with their attendance at the kickoff on March 29th, 2018. And whereas the Board of Mayor and Selectmen, and whereas the McComb School District strongly believes that We Want More requires the support of the Board of Mayor and Selectmen of the city of McComb. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Mayor and Selectmen of the city of McComb, Mississippi do hereby declare Thursday, March 29th, 2018 as We Want More Day in the city of McComb. This order of the 27th day of March 2018. Thank you. And thank you, Selectman Cameron. All right. Board, our form of government does not give the mayor the power to veto. But I can ask the board to reconsider and rescind certain items that are adopted by this board or by previous boards. In our last meeting, we passed 3 items I wish to ask you to reconsider and rescind. One item, exempting hourly employees from 8.217 in our personnel manual. And I just don't think that decision was, I don't think we fully understand the ramifications that we put our hourly employees under by allowing this change in our ordinance to take place. And then also, twice this board in previous meetings, we've had discussions about and agenda items considering moving hotel motel tax funds into Algiers and into Beartown. And twice it's been brought up, and twice this board the motion was lost. And so I want the board to reconsider that action as well. So that being said, item number 9, I move to consider rescinding order 7103/18, amending the City of McComb personnel policy and procedure number 8.217 to exclude hourly personnel. Is there a motion and a second?
Second.
Selectman Tullis made the motion, or Selectman Cameron made the motion? Cameron made the motion, Tullis for the second. And as I said at the last meeting, I think that we're not, I believe that we are, this change, exempting our hourly employees allows them potentially, to threats, retribution, intimidation, coercion, from political candidates or, either actual or implied. And I just think opening that up is the wrong move, and I want you to reconsider. Discussion, Selectman Eubanks.
Yes, sir. Attorney Dowdy, one of the questions I want to ask about this is, does this rescinding of this, which Selectman brought up at the last meeting, does this include any relatives, wives, children of the employee? Can the wives, children, significant other employee that may cohabitate with the employee show their support for a candidate by putting a sign in their yard? So, yes.
It's my opinion that is permitted and allowed.
Say again, sir.
I think that's permitted and allowed. This board has no authority to tell somebody because they are a child of or a spouse of or what have you, that they cannot exercise their First Amendment rights. I think there's precedent now for the employees themselves, and I spoke to that last time, starting with the federal government, the Hatch Act on down. But
right.
It would be easily defeated in court if an attempt is made to silence.
8.217.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Can you let him finish, please?
Yeah, I was just going to let him read
No,
it.
can you let him finish, please?
Well, that has to do with the employee themselves.
Right.
What I think Mr. Eubanks' question was members of the employee's family, and
So if an employee's wife or a significant other decides to put a sign in their yard where they cohabitate, that's okay. That would not in any way jeopardize the employee.
if it is a truly independent decision made by the spouse or the child or the parent of that employee, if it can be shown otherwise, that can be attacked. If somebody saw the employee out in the front yard driving a sign, and later that employee tried to say that it was not my action, it was a family member. But if it's a family member, they have the right to participate in the electoral process as they see fit.
Selectman, is that it, Selectman Eubanks? Selectman Hill?
My question is also to Attorney Wayne Dowdy. What is the proper protocol or Robert Rules of Order of rescinding a motion? Is the chair allowed, or does the motion have to come from a a member of the majority vote?
Rescinding, I've always stated that night, if there had been a reconsideration of action taken, most legislative bodies, including the Congress of the United States, requires that a person who votes in the affirmative come over and indicate at that meeting their wish to change their vote and bring it up again. Rescinding is appropriate, as y'all have heard me say many times, at subsequent meetings, whether it be the immediately following meeting or one 5 years from now. That the governing body here, the board, can rescind action previously taken.
Okay.
And the difference is, if that had been promoted at the last meeting, if someone had come up and asked for a reconsideration of what was taken.
Because in the 11th edition of the Robert Rules of Order, it said that it must come from the majority party of the
Those who voted in favor.
Correct.
But that's for reconsideration at that meeting.
It said at any meeting. Let me pull it up. Y'all can continue to say it.
The current version of the Robert Rules of Order that we operate under also says you have to give us a notice that you're gonna put these items back on the agenda for rescinding. And you have not done that. That's right.
I would say that, when you've got notice.
That's not enough. That's placed on the agenda.
Okay. Well, I believe that, my thought is this, is that, our ordinance says that the city, the mayor's job is to bring forth the wants, what he believes to be the wants and the needs of the city. And, that's what this is about.
And
So that's what I was saying.
And we understand that, but it's not to supersede or get out of order or Robert Rules of Order for the mayor's convenience. That's right. It says that you have to give
Mr. Barnett,
notice.
Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Simmons, one more.
One more what, man?
You're speaking. A chair is not recognized. You do not
I
speak.
didn't speak to you, man. I didn't speak to nobody in here.
All right. Chief McKenzie, he's got to go. Please.
On what grounds, Mayor?
Now, I will
On what
say.
grounds, Mayor? What did
Mayor,
I say?
I will say, Mayor, there has been times where an audience member has spoken or has spoken when it was in favor of something that you were talking about or something that anyone else was talking about, and you didn't say anything. But now in the situation, it's contrary.
Unless the chair is overruled, it's come about.
Okay, and now you're interrupting. It's contrary to what you would like to be in agreement with. You have a problem with it. So again, I would ask that you be fair.
Okay. He must leave.
Motion overrides chair.
There's been a motion to overrule the chair. It's been seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Discussion.
No discussion.
Discussion.
That's Robert Rules of Order.
And it doesn't say that that motion is
Man, I'm gonna leave, but that's the reason y'all gonna get beat in this election, cause you wanna be ruled. And you don't even follow your own orders. You don't even follow your own orders. And you got 3 people that's running for mayor and selectmen, don't even stand up for the rights, and the attorney over there, he's just doing nothing. You won't be mayor, and you won't win again neither.
Okay. So all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Overruling the chair.
Aye.
So three ayes. Any nays? Nay. Motion is lost. All right. So we're back on the,
You didn't vote, Mayor, so it's
motion is lost. The mayor votes nay.
Thank you.
So as I was saying, you did not give us notice of putting these rescinding items on the agenda that you have here. And as you said before, we adopted 11th edition Robert Rules of Order. So we abide by it. I may not always like it, but you are heed to follow.
Right, and I tried my best to do what I can. It's tough. All right, so where are we, Selectman Hill? Is there, there's a motion, and
this is out of order. It's out of order. Can we hear from the attorney on this?
On what issue?
On the issue of being able to bring a rescinding or under Robert rules or without even giving notice.
Without giving notice, if this was published and made available to the board, then I think notice was given. And again, Selectman Hill, what I believe is going to indicate is that in any governing body or legislative body, if at the same session, at the same meeting, if somebody later, after an action was taken, wants to bring up for reconsideration, not to rescind, but to reconsider, then Robert's Rules of Order and parliamentary policy with every legislative body I know of is very practical. Only if a person who voted with the majority states, I want to change my vote, that's the way that's considered. After that reconsideration at the same meeting, then it's an open slate, and like I've told y'all many times, the members of this board at the next meeting, or a month later, or a year later, or whatever, have the discretion to amend, repeal, set aside, rescind any action taken previously by that board or previous board.
This is for the public, the 11th edition of the Robert Rules of Order, page 310. On the extreme rare occasions when it is desired not only to rescind actions but also express the strongest disapproval, a member may move to rescind or expunge from the minutes. On the record, adopted of this motion requires an affirmative vote of the majority of the entire membership and be indivisible unless the support is either greater. Even if none of the vote at the meeting is insignificant or insufficient, if the vote is not a majority in the entire membership. It is not. If you would like to read it, does not say it.
Well,
it does not have to be. It does not have to be at the same meeting. It doesn't state that in this Robert report that we have.
Or reconsideration is at the same meeting. It has to be what you were talking about. But that says to rescind, the majority can vote to rescind.
Correct. And because this is another meeting, and the mayor was not voting in the majority, he has no right to do so.
It's been motioned and seconded. The motion is before us. I believe the motion is in order. I'm going to ask for you to consider and vote on this rescission, unless that's where we are. There's been motion and seconded. I believe the motion is in order. Selectman Brock.
And we gave you 2 instances of what you're doing is out of order. And you
Read it for
The
yourself.
chair has said the motion is in order.
It doesn't say chair.
You are continuing to operate out of order.
Read it for yourself.
I heard, you read to me, I read it, I heard you.
And you still think what you're doing is right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you're bringing this back.
It's been motioned and seconded, Selectman Brock, and motion is in order. The chair has found the motion in order.
That doesn't make it right.
It is in order. Would you consider, is there any discussion on this matter?
Yes.
Selectman Tolleson.
To read what the Supreme Court of the United States had to say about this issue, paragraph. Employees are therefore accountable for political activities by persons other than themselves, including wives or husbands, if in fact the employees are thus accomplishing by collusion and in direction what they may not lawfully do directly and openly.
Mayor, we're not discussing
We're not talking about Trump right now, with collusion. We'll talk 1930. I know you were old then. You know, I'm just telling you, we're not talking about no collusion. You cannot sit here and tell me, you can sit here and tell a wife that she cannot, I don't care. Your attorney right here just said you would go to court, you would lose it. All right?
Selectman Eubanks, that chair has never, y'all got to let the chair recognize it.
Mr. Tullis, I still think I am right. If it can be shown, just like I said earlier, that an employee, in order to get around the policy set by this board, colludes with his wife, or coerces his wife, or does something to put his wife up to doing that which he legally cannot do, I'll agree that'd be right when you use the word collusion, coercion, but stand by what I said.
Mayor.
Unless it can be shown that the employee himself or herself colluded with the spouse or the child or the family member or coerced the child, if it could be proven that John Doe works for the city and is held up by these policies, if it can be shown that he says, Jane Doe, go out there and put up this sign, I can't do it, but you go do it, then in my opinion, he's violated the rules as set by this board. But if it's an independent decision made by the spouse or other family member, they have a First Amendment right, and they're not bound by what this board adopts because they are not an employee of the city of McComb. And I think what I said is consistent with what you just read, and I say that respectfully.
I'm Rock.
And Mr. Dowd is absolutely right. Selectmen Tullis is not, that's not the issue. We're talking about whether or not these three items have any business on this agenda, first of all. You're trying to run around that, Chair.
All right. Selectman Eubanks.
Before we redo the Selectman Brock, I think we're out of order with this. I think this is a matter that at the previous board meeting that I thought was settled, and now to come back on this, what are we trying to do with this? What we're going to be the secret police now? We're going to be wiretapping people, employees' homes to make sure they're not talking to their wives? What do we do? And to even, first of all, to even bring this here, is out of order. He's read to you from Robert's Rules of Order. We adopted Robert's Rules of Order, and I think we should follow Robert's Rules of Order at the level of addition.
Anybody else? Ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. I have 3 ayes, 3 nays, the mayor votes aye. Motion is rescinded. Item number 10, move to consider rescinding order 730318, allocating $200,000 from hotel motel tax collection receipts for Algiers and Beartown Park in fiscal year 18-19. Is there a motion and second?
So moved.
Selectman Tullis made the motion, Selectman Cameron for the second. And board, like I said, 2 times before these motions have come before this board, and they were voted down. And I had told the board, I said, that we were getting, I had the rec director working on a complete proposal for the entire city, where you could look at, all across the city and assess the needs of what the city would be. Algiers and Beartown, great. No aversion to that, but I just want you to look at what the entire needs are. You have not. And so the rec director has given us that. I will give it to you later on in the docket where you can take it home and have a look at it. I'm going to give you a project to do with it, but I want you to see it. But, I want you to have a look as a board and decide what you want to do in the city. You've got a list of like $600,000 worth of improvements in all our parks across the city, everybody's ward, all parks. Which ones do you want to do? And maybe you want to do those. That's fine. I don't care how this thing ends up. Just y'all decide how you want to allocate the monies, and we'll do it. I'll support whatever the Board of Selectmen wants to do. But to start off and to allocate, to do this, Algiers and Beartown without considering the others, I think was the wrong step, and I was asking you to wait, and I thought we were there. Anyway, it's motion second. Discussion, Selectman Brock.
Again, Mayor, and to the citizens of McComb, these items have no business on this agenda. Absolutely none. Pay close attention to us and what we're doing, who's up for re-election, and who's violating laws in disrespect for Robert Rules of Order, what we've adopted. These items have no business on this agenda. Mr. Chair, you're out of order. You're out of order with what you're doing, and I want the citizens to pay close attention to it and handle it at the ballot box.
Selectman Hill.
You had a response?
No, I don't have a response, that's you.
All right, so, back in 2014, yourself and me, we went down to, South Gates, Community Center, and we discussed with the members of that board about your plan, all right? In your plan, you talked about, putting a parking lot out there, basketball goals, improving the baseball field and the splash pad, right? Do you recall any of that?
We had a plan. Now, the exact specifics of it, Selectman Hill, what was voted on by this board and what was approved, didn't say that.
Okay, well, it's the same language that you're using right now. I have a plan that I think that we should follow through with the same language and tone that you gave my constituents in Ward 4 concerning Algiers Park. So the motion that you have on this agenda right now to rescind is money that's going to be used to finish a plan that you promised your citizens, the constituents of Ward 4 of my ward. So you're here tonight to, out of orderly, wrongfully put on this agenda to rescind money that you said that you would spend in Algiers Park. And you say $600,000 that's coming up, but we have already spent at least $337,000 of those dollars for the allocation of the lights at the sport park. So it's not $600,000 that's going to be used for all parks around the city, because half of it's already spent already. So let's stop lying to our citizens and let's put the truth out. Your intention is not to fix our entire city. Your intention is to spend money where your interest is, and right now your interest is not in Algiers, Belltown, other impoverished communities where these type of recreational activities are needed. They're needed. So why on this agenda? Why would you support taking money away from needed communities of recreational activities, selecting for Ward 3, selecting for Ward 1, and our selecting at large? Why would y'all do that? We talk about crime rate. We talk about children having stuff to do, but you guys are sitting here being the issue of and being proactive with crime. It's like you guys want crime, but you guys are not doing anything to fix it. This right here will spend money in communities where it's needed. It's been proven by documentation and data that most crime come out of neighborhoods where there's low recreation activities. And you guys have tore down a gym. You guys have neglected to spend money in recreational activities. I'm talking about, when I say money, I'm talking about loads of money. I'm talking about big bucks, not spending $50,000 here like you're trying to do with this quote-unquote $600,000 for all the parks in the city of McComb. That's chump change. We need to spend money in our communities. And what I'm asking for, $200,000, is not a lot of money, especially when we just spent $337 on lights at a $7 million sport park. What you guys are doing is ridiculous. And it's a shame that a selectman that represents this city has to go through drastic measures of waiting for opposing selectmen to not be here to even get stuff like that through. It's ridiculous. Why should I have to wait till somebody for Ward 1, 3, and Selectmen Lords to not be here to do stuff for my constituents? It's not right. I thought that we was here to represent the whole city. And it's very difficult for me to sit here and vote for something at the sport park that we gonna spend $7 million on, and we getting ready to spend, we allocated $300. It's hard for me to vote for that when I'm asking for $140,000 for my area. That's very difficult. So no.